Hi everyone, Mariana here. I'm founder of Change Naturopathy, naturopath, nutritionist and medical herbalist, practicing here in Auckland from my home. They also call me anxiety detective, and I really adore children and love supporting and educating moms who are struggling with their children's health and their own health. Today I would like to talk about mental health issues, specifically anxieties, what is very, very current topic here in New Zealand and worldwide. And I decided to focus on anxieties and mental health issues like ADHD, depression, and other behavioral issues in children. And I would love to help as many as possible children and their families to manage and overcome their anxieties. Anxieties in small children could be really quite complex, and while I'm supporting the child's health, I will also be supporting their parents and their whole family. I like to get complete understanding from the parents and focus on parents feeling comfortable with me, because only that way we can work progressively in helping their own children with helping with their children's health. This topic is really, really important, extremely important, as every day we know that there are increasing cases of anxiety found in children and adults also. We also know that if anxiety are not checked on time and put under control on time, that can become really unbearable for a child of any age and very dangerous at some points. Today, so I will go over some statistics about anxiety. I will provide you information that I drawn from my own experience working as a naturopath with my clients, or from current research that is available, and it's wide research on this topic everywhere, and from my own experience with anxiety and depression that I had in the past. Even if you don't have a difficult child that suffers from anxiety, if you perhaps suffer from anxiety, or any other family member, your family member or friend, you will definitely find some value and some little nuggets of knowledge that could be useful for you. So stay tuned today. So what is anxiety really? Anxiety, it's simply explained, is a natural response to stress. Anxiety is a fear or worries about something happening in the future, something that we perceive maybe to be stressful, dangerous, or some unfamiliar situation. Everyone experiences any different anxieties at some point in their lives. Feeling afraid is very much just a normal experience of being human. Occasionally, anxiety is completely normal. It is completely normal to have, but if we experience anxieties over a longer period of time, then we should try to find out and see if that becomes chronic anxiety or anxiety disorder. So, you experience fears and anxieties when you are before a very important meeting or important interview or some presentation or something like that. What is really, really normal, and anxieties and that kind of fears and stressors can be really motivating and push you to challenge yourself and try new things, and could also happen and present the actual response to real anticipated danger. So we can say that anxiety could be also survival instinct and acts as a survival instinct. Is it the same in your children and for your children? Of course, same for children like for us adults. Anxiety are also normal part of their growing up and their development phases. So in their different ages and stages of their life, they would have naturally different fears, experience different fears, and they will, for example, be afraid as infants and toddlers of new people, of new situations. When they are toddlers, they start to develop their imagination, and they start to have imaginary big scare of imaginary monsters in their cupboard or in their dreams. So they don't want to, they're clinging to you, they don't want to leave you when it's time for sleep, and many examples like that. But at the same time, anxiety could be also really helpful as for example, if for the protection of your child and for yourself, because it's an also natural response to real danger. If we are walking in the forest and let's say bear or tiger approaching us, so due that stress response that our body can produce, and that anxiety response, we can really avoid that danger, and we can remove ourselves from that situation and from the tigers or bears attack. So experience of anxiety, we can say that is really similar to the experience of fear. However, main difference between the anxiety and fear is that anxiety happens in the absence of real danger. So the experience of anxiety and fear are basically the same. I'm just repeating again, except that in case of anxiety there may be not actual danger, but just something what we perceive as a danger, or something that we will thinking and predicting that might be a danger, dangerous for us. So starting a new activity and being in a new situation is, of course, a new environment is, of course, very stressful for any kid who is growing up, for most kids. But in many of them overcome very quickly that, but many of them get stuck in that fear stage or that anxiety stage. So for kids with anxiety, symptoms can be more uncomfortable and may start to impact their behavior and their willingness to try new things and meet new friends and go to new social settings and situations. So I'm sure many of you, as I gave just before examples for infants and toddlers, seen if you had a toddler and if you experience that stage, you've seen definitely tantrums of toddler, and that's the one of the anxiety response that kids normally going through their development stage. But some kids can have repetitive tantrums all the time, and if that's happening over a longer period, like over a period of 6 months and more, then we have to look into it and see if that's actually chronic anxiety setting in there for them. So experience that intense, excessive, persistent anxiety, fear and worry, it's very hard to control and interfere for our kids, because they don't understand what's happening with them. They don't understand those strong feelings. And some people, children, even can experience sometimes panic attacks, which are really sudden outbursts of anxiety that's happening to them. So as I mentioned, if that happening over a longer period, over longer than 6 months, it's definitely, we can look at that if your child is actually suffering from anxiety disorder, specific anxiety disorders, or chronic anxiety. But if they just have occasional mild anxiety, it is beneficial to look also in that case into the root cause of the anxieties, why they are having all those different feelings and expressing as different behaviors. So at this time, when we see that it's happening over a period of 6 months, it is good idea to go and see your main health practitioner. Either is that your medical doctor, GP, or a natural health practitioner of any kind, like a naturopath, and just consult with them what you can do and how you can help your child to manage those symptoms and anxieties. Because without early detection and getting into early treatment, some forms of anxiety could end up causing really lifetime suffering for child, and later on when they go into their adult stage. So I want to present you with some statistics, what some of you might read about or know or not. For example, about 20% of children and adults, children and teenagers suffering from mental health disorders worldwide. In New Zealand, 1 in 4 New Zealander is diagnosed with anxiety disorders. And the most recent data that was published by Ministry of Health this year, but it was published on basis of information that was gathered with survey done in 2016 and 2017, showed up that kids under 15 years old had diagnosed with mood disorders like depression. About 0.2% of those kids were diagnosed with depression and other mood disorders, and about 0.3% of those kids were diagnosed with anxiety disorders. Some comparison between female, male, and age groups is that among children, the higher amounts of boys would suffer with mental health issues and anxieties than girls. Females, adults, females would usually suffer more often with mental health issues and anxieties than males. Also for adults and kids, if they live in lower socioeconomic deprived neighborhood, they have a higher rates of mental health issues. And so about 36% of adults had used some type of help, either health services or talking to their families, or looking for through the internet and finding answers by themselves. And the most common reported types of help that they used were alternative and complementary therapies, about 21%, and next after that goes to looking for the answers from the primary doctor and medications, 14%, then looking for the answers by itself online and from the family. About 30% of families had used help, including informal help from the family and researching by itself for their own kids also. So that's a little bit about the statistics in area of anxieties. And let's go now on that second type of question: how you can recognize that your child has anxiety, and what it looks like that a child with anxiety. So many of you, if you think of anxiety, children anxiety, we all might immediately think of quiet child sitting in a corner, but child anxieties could really have really different masks. For example, it is not always easy to recognize. Sometimes you will notice that child with anxiety is just checked out. When you look at the eyes, you can see that they're not really here, they're not concentrating, they're not focusing, or they would act out, or child will look for attention, much more attention from you than usual, even if you're busy with somebody else or something else, or child will try to get out of their activities. So there's all common signs that they might be suffering from anxiety. For example, 7-year-old boy is very good at school, perfect student, but when he comes home, he's really aggressive and always fighting with his siblings, or really destroys totally his own room. Or 10-year-old snaps at her mother all the time, and always criticizing whatever her mother trying to do, whatever she does. 8-year-old cries every morning before school, and clinging onto the parents before drop off at school, or before drop off at any sports event or any birthday parties. Or 12-year-old experience headaches or tummy aches, and so it's very difficult to get out of the door whenever they need to go somewhere. 6-year-old, for example, can't fall asleep by himself in the evening, and really wants comfort of their parents around him before going to sleep. So they are all common occurrences in children with anxieties. All these behaviors look really normal and unrelated, and it's very common for each child to happen from time to time, but could present really challenges for family life and for children's own life and development, and working in the school and socializing. Anxiety is definitely on the rise among children, and it has been noticed via research that especially spikes up during the school year, as many of those studies has shown. Also, research has shown that untreated children with anxiety disorders are at high risk to perform poorly in school, that really miss on important social experiences and events in their life, or later on in life can really engage in substance abuse. Even anxiety disorders are the most common mental health problems in children. They don't really have that much attention like other behavioral or mental health issues like ADHD or autism from the medical research, because as I talk about, it's really common for children to be scared or to have a fear in their life from time to time, and really often stays really uncovered and doesn't take much attention like other behavioral problems. So when anxiety becomes chronic and it's becoming as a pattern, as I said, over a 6 months period, then could be really a problem and health issue for your child who experience that. So, as I said, they all experience fear, nervousness, shyness. They start avoiding places and social settings and activities. And some of the most common signs and symptoms that we can group could be presented like, for example, your child come back from school, and of course they're going to say, oh, I'm anxious, I have anxiety. They will say, oh, I really have a sore tummy, I really have a sore head, and I don't really want to go back to school tomorrow. I can't go back to school tomorrow. So those frequent unexplained pains in the body, headaches and stomach aches could be symptoms of anxiety. Or when they're refusing to go to school, that's really first red flag for the teachers and for the parents that something going on, and it's possible anxiety, because children really, when they feel overwhelmed with those feelings, unknown feelings, they don't really feel that they can go and bear another so many hours in the school in that social setting with so many triggers and different challenges. So also they're avoiding new places and social situations, and avoiding people, don't want to talk to people, even to people who they know very well. They could be really angry and irritable. Most kids meltdowns starting to be when they feel really exhausted, when they feel overwhelmed, when they can't explain those feelings what they feel, and those symptoms that they experience in their body, physical symptoms also. So they can mask that with anger and irritability, and they become angry at you and start being aggressive and showing all those kinds of behaviors. So sometimes that can really look really sad and frustrating for the parent who experienced that, because it could look that the child doesn't have any emotion, can't regulate their emotions, and they don't have any feelings for the family members, for siblings, but in fact they are just masking how they feel, and they're masking that feelings with that anger and aggressiveness. So they can also feel very sad, often they're very sad, clingy to you. They can also very easily burst into the tears and cry for long. They would try to get isolated and to stay in their comfort zone, in the comfort of their home, without going in places, avoiding social situations. They also are very good procrastinators because they don't like to challenge themselves and try new things. They can have really low energy and fatigue because coping with anxiety can be really exhausting. So chronic fatigue in previous active children could be a really good sign that something might happening with that they might have anxiety. Also have a poor concentration, can't complete their task for school or any other task. It is very difficult to focus when you have anxiety. It is also important to watch for like chest pains, racing hearts, when they're feeling like a fainting, difficult breathing, they have a brain fog. This can be all symptoms of anxiety. And also they can question all the time. They can have frequent questions about their well-being, if they're gonna be okay. They can worry lots about their family members, if they're gonna be okay, like health-wise, or is something very bad gonna happen. So they will keep seeking validation from you and from any other adults, if repeatedly, if that's all gonna be okay. On the other hand, very often we have to be aware that many kids are very good in hiding all those symptoms that they experience and those feelings that they experience, because in many cases kids don't want to bother their parents, or they don't want to scare their parents, or they're scared to go to doctors, so they know if they say there's something wrong with them, the parents gonna take them to the doctor. So in many cases kids are very good to hide that, and that's very dangerous because we can't really notice those symptoms, and that could be really missed. So that's last question. What I want to cover today is why your child has anxiety, and why is that increased numbers of children suffering from anxiety today. So we think parents and teachers are quick to spot those behavioral changes that I already mentioned, but they don't always see that it's underlying anxiety that drives that, because that often is present as a group of negative behaviors. But also we also tend to think that kids with anxiety are very delicate little people, but kids when they're scared and they can't explain those emotions, what they feel when they're scared, then they mask that with aggressiveness and violence and with many other behavioral changes. So challenges often there that kids might experience these emotions for the first time for them, and they without warning, and they can't explain what's happening to them. They don't understand why they're feeling like a feeling, why they have a pain in the tummy, or that pain in the chest, and they're getting scared from that. So you have to put yourself in their shoes. You have to understand how they feel when they first time experience something like that, and they don't necessarily know how to respond to that, or how to find out answers for that, because they're little. They don't know how to research and find out what's going on. So why is that happening today, especially today, increased number of kids suffering from anxiety, and even adults suffering from anxiety and other mental health issues? Because we are living in the world now who is totally different than 100 years ago. Today we are living because of our busyness, because high technological advancement was always keep going with the demand of our time. We were always getting shorter and shorter on time and wanting to achieve more and more. So we now have lots of good options with this technological advancement, what is speed internet, that we can contact and talk to anybody wherever in the world, mobile phones, other screens, convenience of fast foods that we can pick up, convenience of very good advanced emergency medicine, other technological advancement that you and your kids can't imagine their life currently without it. But at the same time, because of that, and because of that busyness, because of that shortness of time, trying to achieve so much, and there's availability to do everything online, we are really removed from the nature. We are living more sedentary lifestyle, and we are more stressed. We are exposed to much more environmental toxins from our foods, from air we breathe, from cleaning products we use. So all that cumulative stress on our bodies, on ourselves, or from modern living takes a toll on our health and the health of our children. So definitely this affects our children also, because children today are stressed on so many fronts. They're challenged socially, they're challenged academically, they have to cope with the physical changes in growing up and development. They have a demand and influence from their peer groups and from social media to fit in a certain modules, what social media or whoever set up those modules. They're trying to fit to be accepted. So of course they get stressed, they get they have fearful thoughts, and they are scared, and that's how anxiety starts to set up in their lives too. So parents really should ask questions about anything they notice that is different, out of order in their children's behavior, or that is really happening as a pattern over a prolonged period of time, and to understand and show interest to their children, that they are interested in what's happening and what's going on in their life, and that they love them, even that children refusing that interest for them in the first place or initially. But in fact, all children would love to have parents who show interest and share with them their success and what they're going through, or their feelings. But they need some time to warm up to that and start talking to you. So you should always ask yourself, am I here? Am I emotionally available to my child? And I'm not going to go deeper anymore in this topic, because I will go and go much wider around that topic in our last video, my last video, video number 7, where I will talk and explain how you can approach your child who's suffering from anxiety, how you can help them, and what you can do around that. The good news in all of this and about anxiety in your difficult child is that all of this is that children's anxiety is quite treatable, and especially with early intervention and recognition. So in learning to spot those really sneaky signs of child's anxiety, identifying the triggers of anxiety, teaching kids different coping skills, parents and teachers can empower the kids really to manage those unknown feelings for them, for kids, and independently, and to be independent, to really thrive in any social situations, and to be the same like all their peers. So really it is possible to manage and reduce symptoms of anxiety in children. Or also one main thing to consider in each child, that each human being and each child is totally different and unique. So it is difficult to say whether or not your child is more anxious or worried than another child, your neighbor child or your friend child or something like that. So you can't really compare that. So because of that, I really like our approach, our natural health practitioner, naturopathic approach, when we are looking into the child in front of me, and I'm looking at the client in front of me, what's happening for them. I'm not looking at a condition that child might be diagnosed. It's not anxiety that I'm looking at. I'm looking at a child in front of me and what's happening for them, and why that child have that anxiety, looking at to uncover underlying cause of that anxiety. So that's really, really important to start working on that to be able to reduce and manage anxiety in children properly. So also because they are really unique and different from each other, each of them will really respond differently to different options for anxiety reduction and anxiety treatment. So I hope you learned lots today. We covered a little bit about anxiety in general, about some statistics in anxiety in children and adults, and we also talk about why your child might have anxiety and how you can recognize that, and why is that a huge prevalence of anxiety in our children happening today. So if you have any questions about my talk today, please don't hesitate to put your questions underneath of the video in the comments, or you can really message me directly, and I will really try to reply to and give you answers as soon as possible. Tomorrow I will see you again, and I will share with you what are the common types of anxieties, what your child is, why is your child anxious and some other children are not, and what is causing anxiety in kids. So thank you very much for listening to me today, and I hope you learn lots. See you tomorrow.